Hello and good morning, everyone. This is Amir Ismail with you today. Thanks for joining us. I hope you all are doing okay. Today we are going at an unusual time because I understand, especially in Pakistan, there's a lot of cricket going on. So we thought maybe it's a good idea to catch you guys early in the morning, although it is 12:01 a.m. in Toronto. Uh, those who are joining us for the first time, my name is Amir Ismail, and I'm an authorized citizenship and immigration advisor based out of Toronto. And we arrange these live sessions for the purpose of providing guidelines to our clients. And most recently, we have been receiving a number of inquiries and questions related to travel to Canada during pandemic. And although the Canadian government has provided a lot of details on their website about the steps people are required to take and the measures that they have put into place, but we really don't have a lot of feedback from people who have actually experienced it. One of our team members, Fariha Amir, has recently traveled from Lahore to Toronto, and we thought it might be a good idea to bring her in so that she could share her experience with us as to how did it go, and her first-hand experience might be helpful to you if you are planning to travel to Canada in near future. It might give you some practical aspect of traveling to Canada during these times, some measures that you might want to take, and it might help you in setting your expectations as well. Because, when it comes to practicality, things are a bit different. And that is what has happened with Fariha Amir as well when she flew from Lahore to Toronto, the hassle she had to go through. And of course, until she reached her home, or whatever happened in between might be something that you might be interested in. With me today would also be Mr. Noman Khwaja, our international Asian director. He will be joining us live from Karachi today, and we might be able to take few questions as well, taking this opportunity since we are live. So without further ado, let me invite Noman Khwaja to the stream as well. How are you, Noman sir?
I'm fine, Amir Saab. How about you?
I'm good. Doing okay. It's late at night, but what to do when you have clients on the other side of the world? Your sleep times are usually disturbed. Let me
That's right.
also invite Fariha Amir, who is going to be sharing her travel itinerary with us, her experience, and what she had to experience when she traveled from Lahore to Toronto. Hello,
Hello,
how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. Thank you for joining us and taking time out, and it's a great pleasure that you will be sharing your details. So I understand you took a flight from Lahore to Toronto, and you took Qatar Airways, right?
Yes.
Okay. And naturally, there is some preparation that you need to make, which involves, of course, booking the flight, but also the testing, the COVID testing, which is the main requirement before you could board the plane. Tell us about the requirement, and tell us about the difference between the airline requirement and the Canadian requirement, and how did it impact your journey?
Sure. So when I booked my flight, naturally you have to undergo a COVID test. Um, with Qatar Airways, it's like you have to have a valid COVID test for at least 96 hours. But for Canada, it's different. For Canada, it's 72 hours. And this is something that we should all keep in mind. Um, I had to get tested and I had to make sure that, it's valid because 72 hours is a very small window. So you have to, make sure that you're aligning everything. In my case, it was a bit different because my flight got delayed by 12 hours. Like I was supposed to board the plane around like 3 a.m. and my flight got delayed for 12 hours. So instead of 3 a.m., it was 1:30 p.m. And then the disadvantage of that was my next connection at Doha was being missed, which means that the validity of my COVID test, it was gonna expire. So I had to undergo another COVID test in order to, board the plane. And then I was unlucky again that my flight got delayed second time also. So the same situation, I had to take the test again. But when I was finally able to board the plane from Lahore, um, honestly, like the flight from Lahore to Doha, it was quite packed. It was crowded, and my stopover was 3 hours long, which was all right, pretty good. And the flight from Doha to Toronto was like pretty empty. So basically, I had like the three seats to myself. So it was like good social distancing practicing. Um, and it was, yeah, pretty smooth. When I got off at Toronto,
Let me
um,
stop you here because
yeah,
I for the purpose of understanding of our audience, um,
mhm,
this major hassle that you had to go through
mhm,
when you were required to, of course, you were required to present a valid test which is not older than 72 hours, and then
yes,
you missed the flight. That means you
mhm,
also missed the connecting flight from Doha.
yes, yes,
So if you miss the connecting, if someone misses the connecting flight, that means that they have to go with the next available connecting flight. So
yeah,
your test might be valid when you boarded the flight from your original city, but when you are arriving at a connecting terminal airport, and if you are required to take another flight, which is of course going to be missed, then of course you don't really have any choice but to take the second flight available, and in the meantime your test can get expired. This is perhaps
exactly.
happened with you as well, right?
Yes. So that's what I said. Like you have to keep it in mind that you have enough time. That's why I had to like undergo the test twice. And um, when you get tested, you get the test reports within like 24 hours. So I had to go to the place where they give it urgently. So I was lucky in that sense that when I got tested the third time, I got my report on time, and I had enough time to board my next flight because the flight that I missed and the next one that I was getting, the next available one was 20 hours. It was 20 hours stopover. So if I wanted to board on the 20 hours stopover and like if I wanted to board on the next flight, my test would have been expired. So this is why I have to undergo tests so many times. But like luckily I managed to make it work.
Okay, so then you of course landed in Toronto on Toronto Pearson Airport, and then of course in the normal circumstances you go through immigration, you collect your baggage, but then
Hmm.
in your case, I'm sure that you were asked to go for a COVID test at the airport too.
Yes, it was different. It was very different this time. So after immigration, you are required to collect your baggage, and after collecting the baggage, you're required to take a COVID test right at the airport, which has like a long line. It could even take you up to 2 hours if it's busy. So I had to undergo the test at the airport, and then um, currently, like if you land in Canada, you are required to, like in Ontario, you're required to quarantine at a hotel, at a designated hotel. There are a list of hotels given by the government. So you have to pick one of the hotels from that list and quarantine over there. So after the test, you go to the hotel and you have to stay there for 3 days until you get the test results. And if your test is negative, only then you get to check out and go home and quarantine for, next 10 more days to complete your 14-day quarantine. So here I am, and I'm required to take another test after, like, I'm currently in quarantine, and I'm required to take another test after 14 days end. And when I got tested at the airport, I was given this kit. It's like a self-testing kit. So I'll have to do the test myself after my quarantine ends, and I'm gonna have to mail it out. Let me show you guys. There's like there's everything in here. There's this kit for the test, and then they have like this package to mail it out and everything. So someone's gonna, I don't know, like I'm gonna mail it out, and then they're gonna test it if I'm still negative or positive, and then if I'm positive, then I'll have to quarantine for, next 14 days. If I'm negative, then I'm free.
Okay, so it's quite a story. It's a major, major hassle, especially if you have gone through the hassle of missing the flights and you have to maintain the 72 hours validity of your test. And then if you finally make it to Canada, you being a Canadian citizen, of course, you don't really need a visa. You have the passport, you can come to Canada. But when you arrive here, the ordeal doesn't end. It, in fact, is started the day you landed in Canada. And when you landed, usually, as you told me, you can go through the immigration, collect your baggage, and out you come out of the airport. But you were required to wait in line for, how much did you say? Around 2 hours, right?
It could be up to 2 hours.
Yeah.
But if it's not crowded, then it could be earlier. Depends.
Yeah, so 2 hours in line for testing, and then you are escorted to a government designated hotel where you stay. And there's a major chaos going on, of course, in the Canadian quarantine hotels, and Canadian citizens and permanent residents, of course, are protesting for this requirement, because according to them, if you have tested yourself before boarding the flight and you are also getting yourself tested at the airport, then you could go ahead and quarantine at your home. But I think the only point government has is perhaps when people are allowed to go to their homes, they don't comply. And that is why they're making sure that they, and because of these different strains coming in for the virus, they're making sure that people are quarantined, but it's a major hassle. And the point of the matter is that this, in my point of view, people can differ with me. I think very, very rarely people would differ with me that it's a major chaos going on. It's a half-baked plan. A government could have thought about it, might have followed New Zealand and Australian system, but I think they were, of course, they also have the responsibility of saving Canadians. So they came up with this idea, and the idea is okay, but the management and the administration around it is so chaotic that it's a problem. Plus, there is a legal side of it as well, because as a Canadian citizen, as a permanent resident, you have the right to enter Canada under Section 6 of the Charter. And a lot of people are referring to that, and they're saying that they can't be escorted to a quarantine facility without their will. They can't be detained if you are a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident. So it's a whole lot of debate going on around this issue. But because you have shared with us your hands-on experience, your first-hand experience of going through it, now people might have an idea that they have to first of all, think twice before they are traveling, unless it is very, very necessary to come to Canada. They might want to defer their plans or change them. But if they have to, if there is an essential reason, or maybe there is a problem going on, if God forbid there is an emergency in Canada, you have to attend to a family member, you don't really have any choice but to come back to Canada, then of course you have to go through these hassles. I think you are in a position to make a plea at the airport with the immigration officials on a humanitarian and compassionate ground that you are ready to comply with the quarantine requirement, and you have gotten yourself tested even at the airport, so you be allowed to go to home. But a lot of people, they don't really know their rights. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
if they're Canadian citizens or permanent residents, they don't discuss and then they just follow. So if you really need to make that plea, you can do so at the airport. But really, it's a major hassle at the moment. We understand that a lot of people who have been issued the confirmation of permanent residence from March, since March 2020, they have not been allowed to come to Canada, and they are still waiting. There are delays, but things are moving toward betterment, and we hope that things are going to be sorted out. The Canadians are looking forward to get vaccinated by September. So if that happens, that's going to be the traveling at least would be okay. In terms of immigration, we know that there is no issue. The applications are being submitted, applications are being processed. Visa issuance might be delayed, but delaying your immigration application might not be a good idea. You need to be able to submit your application now. Okay, so thank you, Faria. Do you want to add something to your experience? Anything that you wish to share with our audience that might be helpful for them if they're planning to travel to Canada shortly?
Just keep in mind that you have 72 hours for the test. It's
Yeah,
a very small window. Just make sure everything is aligned and you should be okay.
yeah, especially if you are boarding the plane from a city which has fog like Lahore. And I
Yes,
don't think there's any city in the world at the moment that might have fog like Lahore. Lahore,
it
which-
was crazy. It was literally zero visibility.
so
So there's no way flights are going.
I guess twice or thrice, twice.
It was twice.
Twice, and the third time you managed to take the
Yeah.
flight. It's crazy. Okay, so wonderful. I hope this whole experience might be helpful to people who have listened to it, and if you're listening to it as a recording, please share it with your friends or relatives or acquaintances who are planning to travel to Canada in near future. That might be helpful to them. Okay, so we have few people joining us today, and we might want to acknowledge them. And let's see if we have a few questions to take. Um, we have Muin Ahmed Butt joining us from YouTube. Welcome. Hamza Shah is saying, "Come on, we are waiting." And yeah, I mean, I think it was before the broadcast started, so
Yeah.
understandable. Okay, Muin Ahmed saying, "Looking forward for your guidance." Here. Okay, so I didn't understand the question. I to travel during pandemic. He is from Lahore. Yeah, so you have heard the story. If you're from Lahore, if you're taking a flight, if you're not a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, if you're a foreign national, if you have a visitor visa, you might want to check with the immigration authorities before you try to board the plane, because you might need an authorization. If I'm not wrong, what do you say, Aman?
That's true. That's true, Hamza.
So a written authorization is needed. If the officer agrees, then you can board a flight. Okay. So there's another question coming in from Mariam Sheikh. She says she got her E number. In the meanwhile, her IELTS expired. She got 7.5 overall. Should she consider herself still in the queue or not? So Mariam, you have access to your profile, right? You can log into it and see if it is still valid. And when it is still valid, it will show. If you've been booted out of the system, usually you get an email.
Message.
Yeah, but
You get a message in the portal.
in a portal. But I've seen that it actually takes a while before they boot you out of the system if your IELTS expires. So if the IELTS has expired before you updated it, consider your profile being cancelled. Okay. There's a question for Numan Saab, and says, "Are you from Gujranwala city?" Maybe it's
I'm from
because of the health, right?
maybe.
Yeah, Gujranwala is like people, healthy people.
Yeah. So
No,
mine, I'm from Karachi.
he's from Karachi. Maybe you look like someone who he knows that is from Gujarat.
Yeah, mate.
But it's an honor to be from Gujranwala. It's a great city. Okay. Owais Sufel is saying, is it advisable to apply for jobs in oil gas sector in Canada while you are not present in Canada? Do companies offer sponsorship? Well, you never know, Owais. You need to apply and see what happens. I mean, you can try and see if you succeed. And good luck with that. Okay. And another question from same Moin Ahmed is how long this requirement will go? If you're talking about the travel restrictions, we don't know really. No one knows. It may go on for a very long time. Depends if Canada would be able to control the pandemic. Question is coming from Shakib Pervez. Please tell us about how prepared are the hotels. Also, which hotels from the list do you recommend for people landing in Toronto? Okay, so Shakib, I won't be able to comment a lot because there's a lot of information available online. What I can say is, in my personal opinion, it is really a mismanaged job, and there is a chaos going on in the hotels. There is a problem going on in terms of supply of food, water on time, and it seems like these people are not being well attended to. The staff at the hotel, of course, they are limited in their resources as well. So yeah, do your research and see what other people are saying. My own observation is that government had to deal with a lot of travelers, and they hired contractual workers who are not very well trained, in my point of view. So hotels that are designated hotels, they were not well prepared, and it's my own personal opinion that perhaps it might not be a good idea to aggregate people at a place which could prove to be a spreader for a virus even more. So that is another debate whether it's a good decision or not. But yeah, I mean, if you're a Canadian citizen, perhaps you might want to invoke your charter rights. So, okay. Mohammed Amir saying, are visitor visas for Canada open? Visitor visas are not open for people who are not exempted. If you come under one of the exemptions, you might be able to travel to Canada after seeking authorization from an officer. And yeah, Ina should ask, how long does it take to get visitor visa? Visit visa process time if I apply next month. So visitor visas are not being issued to anyone at the moment. You can submit your application. It will be put in the queue. They will not issue the visitor visa until the border restrictions are lifted. If you come under one of the exemptions, you can advise the visa post about it, and they might be able to issue you the visa, and you might be able to travel. But otherwise, if you're coming for tourism, you might not be able to get the visa. Thank you very much, Main, for appreciation. There is Toss Chief is asking, but nowadays the express entry application state is pending and it's not the norm. So was wondering if you have any information regarding it. So Toss Chief, it is taking 3 days time, and applications that we submitted recently, they all have received acknowledgements in 3 days time. And I've seen that it might be a clockwork. It's I think it is actually being done purposely. It's not a glitch or anything. Um, the application, once they are submitted, they are indeed acknowledged, albeit after a couple of days or 3 days. So hopefully we will get the acknowledgement very soon for those people whom we submitted recently. Okay. Okay. So I think that's about it. I think we did have very few questions today. On front of the the updates. Namansa, do you have anything to share with our audience in terms of because we didn't have any express entry draw happening in recent times. We are eagerly waiting for it, but it has not happened as yet. What is your what is your idea? Will there be a draw happening this week?
Yeah, uh, draw is expected anytime, you know that, but most likely since we have seen it's been happening on usually on every Wednesday or Tuesday eve. So perhaps we are still looking forward to it in the upcoming week, and then during this week, and hopefully we will be able to see the new draw, especially specifically for Federal One.
Yeah, so guys, if you have your Express Entry profile ready, go in the pool now because you never know. If you're delaying it for some reason, if you're waiting for some documents, if these are essential documents to create your profile, for example, ECA or IELTS, naturally you can't create your profile. But if you're
That
waiting for some reason, if you're busy, set aside some time and go in the pool. If you are very busy, we can assist you. Feel free to get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to assist. Before we go, just to remind you that we come online every Saturday, and usually every Saturday, but we are thinking about changing the day because we've seen that Saturday is usually a busy day for people. So maybe it's going to be working day, and it's going to be around the same time, like morning time, which is more convenient. And I'm not going to come online in the evening until this PSL is over. So because cricket is important, right? We have to understand that it is important. So in order to maximize our audience, we need to make sure this. I'm going to show the slide as usual, which has our contact details. Get in touch with us if you have any questions. Feel free to send us an email or visit our website or contact us in Toronto or in Karachi, where Noman Khwaja is based, our director. There you go. So you can contact us in Toronto. Numbers are given. Email address is given. The number 647-835-0660 is also available on WhatsApp. And then we have our Karachi office address. We are on the 7th floor, room number 706 in Kashif Center. It's a building on Shara Faisal. But before you go, it is a good idea to give them a call. Direct number for Khwaja Noman is 0300 251-6207. If you are in Karachi, you wish to see him, the number is there, and it's also available on our website. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today, and we will be looking forward to catching up with you guys very soon again. All right? All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.